for people to behave as they like, and people can choose whatever you like to do, or whatever places you be there. So it's open field, full of the freedom and full of the inspirations, and yeah, something like that. And even inside we have stepping areas, so it's not like building and furnitures, but more like furnitures, benches, small chairs, small tables, and architecture walls. All of them are integrated together, melting. Everything is melting together as a one element of this 2-centimeter really thin steel pipes. And the whole structure is also made by it. So those kind of beautiful integrations, melting everything together, is quite like a radical point of this project. Because normally we have a wall and ceilings, and then furniture, doors, windows. So architecture has many different elements. But in here we try to melt every element of architecture together to create just one continuous landscape made by only one element. Then it is like making a more like a freedom for you, because if you think right hand green areas, that part is more transparent, so it's like a window, but then it's getting more dense, the structure is getting more dense, then it looks like more like a walls or screens. But if you move around, the position is changed, then the transparency is always changing. So no strong window, no strong walls, but every time you are surrounded by the different densities of elements, like a forest, and then the densities of the elements is always changing around you. So it is like a cloud. Oh, it's getting... And here you can see how the transparency is changing gradually. So it's not like a frame of the windows, but more like the changing transparencies and gradations and something like that. It's like a cloud. And those kind of stepping inspire people to move or to behave in a different way from the normal situations. So this old lady just climbing up these steps and then just coming down. But it's like a communication with the space, communication with the people and the spaces, and then you can find different things. This is in the park. Every day, every night, people can come. But every moment, every morning, you come. But if there is a different weather, different sunlight, then you can find a different functions, a different way of using, or different meanings of these places. And in the evening, yeah, it's like this. So again, it's quite simple in a sense. It's only made by the steel pipes. It's quite simple, but as a whole, the whole experience and the whole impression is so complex and so rich in a sense, and so diverse. So the simplicity and complexities are now melting together. And inside and outside too, it's melting together. Sometimes outside is getting more inside. And of course, the transparencies and opaqueness also are melting together. And furniture scales, tiny scales, furniture scales, architecture scales, and the landscape scales, all different scales are melting together. And of course, artificial scale, artificial things and the natural things. We try to remove such boundaries between those different things and then integrate them together. So that's kind of a reinvention of the space and reinventions of the functions and reinventions of our behaviors in a sense. So basically I like to question such a fundamental things. I like to question what is the wall, what is the meaning of the wall, or what is the meaning of the boundaries, or what is the furniture, of course what is architecture or something, questioning and try to redefine it. What is a wall? Do we need a wall? Or a wall could be also the ceilings or something like those kind of re-questioning everything and try to find new definitions of every architecture elements, because those kind of a questioning relates to the really fundamental quality of our life, and then try to make something new. So connecting the fundamental things and the new things together. And this is a private house in Tokyo. You have a model. It's one of the most kind of a crazy house in a sense. You can see the plot is quite small, like in Tokyo normal size, 6 meter by 8 meter something. So if you just make a normal house, it's just a normal house of a 3-story high. So we talked with the client how to do it. They talked about, it's a young couple, clients of the young couple. They talk about their lifestyle is like moving around in the house. They were living at that time in the normal apartment, but not, how to say, use the space as this is a bedroom, so this is a kitchen, this is the dining spaces, but they're more like moving around this corner of the dining space to the another corner of the dining spaces, or moving back into the middle of the bedrooms or the side of the bedrooms. For them, all of those kind of different areas has different meanings. And that was the big inspirations for me. So for them, small, various different areas could have more value than big one living space. Then we try to divide plots in a smaller pieces to make a small floors with the different levels to create the varieties and diversities of the houses for their choice. Now finally, more than 20 plates it has. It's only the 10-meter high house, but the 20 different plates are floatings in a various different levels. Then you can choose 20 different areas in your life with the different levels. And the small plates, it's the smallest one is a 1.4 by 1.4 meter. So it's almost like the size of the furniture. And even the biggest one is 2.5 by 2.5. So just a large table size. So all the size of the plates are furniture size. So it looks like a stacked furniture houses. So in that meanings, it relates to your body. It relates to your behavior size because it's a smaller size. And then this is again the Iwan's photo to show how actively the whole space interacts with the human behaviors. And this is really iconic photos and representing the quality of this architecture spaces by photograph. It's really amazing because together with the peoples in a natural, relaxing feelings. I think this is just like a hand camera. It's not like a big tripod. It's more like a hand camera to just catch the one moment of relaxing behaviors in the different levels. That is the best way to show these architecture places, because this composition is of course beautiful, but together with people's behaviors, together with those kind of daily stuffs, the value or meaning of these architecture spaces is much more, how to say, important. Anyway, you can see the gap between the floors, sometimes like this. So you can use one plate as a bench from the other spaces, or just like a staircases. And some small space is only for the shelves. But if you like, you can just, how to say, walk in to stay there as really tiny spaces. So you can choose different levels as you like, and it's like climbing the trees in a sense. It's of course it's made by the steel, super geometrical, but you can just climbing up to find your own comfortable branches for readings. But if you like to chat with your wife, then you can come down to the different levels to have the chat. Or if you have 10 friends, then each branches has each different friends. But then all the spaces are connected, so you can just talk throughout the whole spaces. So it is like a really, in a sense, primitive house relating to your behaviors and activities, and relating to your really, I don't know, monkey-like life in it. But on the other hand, we are enjoying to go back from the tiny scales to the larger scales, and this one is one of the largest project we proposed for the competition in the Middle East. The site is 1.2 kilometer. It's quite long, and then the program was a huge shopping center in the Middle East. So everything was new for me. Such a huge site and huge shopping center, Middle East, climate conditions and cultural conditions. So everything was new, so we are excited to challenge to that, because every time we are in the new situations, new countries, new cities, new cultural background, we start to learn, we start to study, and then we get a lot of inspirations from that. And then we can update ourselves through the project. And in that case, anyway, the site is quite long and in the middle of the desert, so nothing around it. So we thought it could be nice to have a landmark to show what it is. From 10 kilometers away, you can see it. So we propose the towers, 100 meter high, as a shape, and 7-8 towers it has. But this tower is not just a tower, it has a void atrium inside, and which could work as a natural ventilation tower. So the cool air is coming from the bottom and then getting hot and then going up to the top of so it's like a chimney. So every time, even no wind, it is making the flow of the wind to make a natural ventilations. And of course, this is a shopping center, so this atrium could work as a really like a sensations of the experience of the shopping. And the most exciting point of this project is this structure. You can see arches and then the circles. And of course, because this is the Middle East, so we try to use this kind of arch shape. But the whole structures are just a repetition of this kind of a circular shape, arch shapes. And you can see the whole building is made by this. And the glass line is now set back. So the structure is beautiful, but it could work as a sunscreen, sunshade, as it is. So you can see layering of these structures make the filtering of the light, sunlight, strong sunlight of the Middle East. And then finally, well-controlled light is coming down from the top. So it's like a rain of the sunlight is coming through it. So structure system could work as the sunscreen, and then the whole shape could work as a natural ventilation works, and then the shoppings, and then the landmark. So different topics, the lengths or bigness of the site, and the cultural background, climate background, everything's well considered and finally well integrated into the architectural forms. But the interesting point is, this is quite big, but if you see carefully this structure, the repetition of the units, it's almost the same as the first project, the Serpentine Pavilion in London. The same repetition of the frames. One of them is just a pure frames, and this one is more like an arch, but then same systems. And then repetitions could create the densities to block the sunlight, but the scale is different, 100 times different. And I, even myself, didn't imagine we can expand the ideas of the pavilion, small pavilion, into 1.2 kilometers in the Middle East. But some of my staff got an ideas, and then we developed. And finally, we thought we can achieve something unexpected for us, or something beyond ourselves, in a sense. So that is like the excitement of the architecture design. You don't have to limit to your methodology. You can challenge, you can try to expand yourself, and then finally you reach to the different field. And then we thought, anyway, this is the Middle East, so we thought, yeah, they have money, they must have money, so we can do whatever crazy things as you like. So put the waters, like make a huge lake inside of the buildings, and then putting the boat to make a strange experience of the shoppings, and then the beautiful sunlight is coming down. And we were dreaming those kind of crazy things. But finally, after the submission, we sent the huge A0 panels, 20 A0 panels to the Middle East country. Starts to talk about the date of the presentation. But finally, they sent an email that the king of this country changed his mind and said everything is just gone and everything stopped and no payment, no anything. So we just have our proposals. And sometimes those kind of crazy things could happen in architectural design. So it's okay, but I'm still very happy to have this project because we got an opportunity, and then those opportunities push us or motivate us or inspire us to make something different from our previous works. So we achieved a lot from this opportunity. And it's beautiful. So I'm really happy. But after 3-4 years, I'm still showing this project on every lectures because today we have a lot of audiences, and some of you are rich guy, so you have money maybe, and if you like to collaborate together for this project, to realize this project, we can redesign the shape of the arch more fitting to the Vietnamese traditional something, but it must be wonderful. So please, if you are interested in, please just contact me afterwards, secretly. Anyway, going back to the small project again. This is the one Iwan showed briefly in the morning, his lecture. Public toilet in Japan. And you can see just a toilet in the landscape. And public toilet, when I got the commission of this, I got just one phone call. And I was really happy. And I just say, okay, I will do that. Because the public toilet, public bathroom is quite fundamental programs for architects. It's public, but if you are inside, it's really private. So it's something between the super public and the super private. So how to do with that is a nice challenge. And then the site is like a really beautiful countryside. So it's nice to see the surroundings, but of course you have to protect yourself, block the view. So you have to close it, but you like to open it. So open and close also quite fundamental question for architecture. From thousands of years ago, people make a wall, but they like to see outside, so they made a windows, but then they don't like to be seen, so they put something. So those kind of a fundamental question is here. And also nature, architecture relationships. So in that meanings, the public toilet, especially in such a small scales, is really extremely fundamental, exciting project. And finally, we propose this one. It is like this. You see the glass box, and then you see the black wall. It's like an oval shape. And then the height of the oval black wall is 2.3 meters something. So it's blocking the view from outside. And then we have an entrance from the left above. And once you enter to this oval wall, you can lock the door. Then inside of this wall is like your private garden. So yeah, glass toilet, transparent toilet is no problems because only you are occupying the gardens. Yeah, so it's like a paradise in a sense. The strategy is quite simple. Normally, if we make wall, it's like a strange mixtures of the two different things. One is block the view, and another one is block the air. It seems both of them is almost the same things, but it's different. The glass box is blocking the air to protect the minimal shelter, protected from the rain, but it is not blocking the view. And then the black wall is not blocking the air because it's just air is continuing, but it is blocking the view. And if you carefully make a distances between the glass box and then the black walls, then the miracle could happen. You are really protected from the view, but you can see all the surroundings. You can enjoy. So it is possible to realize protected, but at the same time you can enjoy the whole landscapes in a sense. This is really architectural, intellectual strategy to carefully lay out the walls, carefully see the meaning of the walls, glass walls, black walls, carefully make a distances, and then finally such a simple solutions, but really amazing solutions could happen. So this is the plan. It's quite simple. Square shape is the glass box to have a toilet, and then oval shape is just a wall. And then you have an entrance there. You open the door, close it, and lock it, and then it's a paradise for you, the paradise toilet. Of course, sometimes if you are in emergency situations and reach to the doors, open the doors finally, and then you will find another 15 meters to run. So it could be a bit problems, but it's part of the life. Yeah, maybe. Anyway, it is like this, and the budget was rather cheap. So we made the walls by the piles, wooden piles, sticking into the ground, no foundation, just sticking into the ground, and make it very, very simple. And we made the gardens as natural as is possible. So it is and these trees also existing trees. So we try to keep the existing situations, green field and green trees. And so it's quite subtle, but it's amazing things. And yeah, we have this is a toilet for the public, but for the railway company, you saw the trains is going through there. Next to that, this is a part of the small train private company in Japan. And we are continuing the relationship with this railway company. And now I am designing 2 more small, tiny toilet for them. So will be built in a year maybe. And then Iwan will come again to take photos. Anyway, so sometimes even such a tiny things could have serious fundamental architectural questions, and you can invent something funny and something important things. And this is another private house. Again, you have a model, and this is dealing again the boundaries like the toilet, inside and outside. But this is a real house, so inside and outside in your life. And the composition is quite simple. 3 boxes, box in box in box. Big box, middle box, and small box. And the interesting point of this is we have ambiguous or blurring boundaries. Inside of this, we have many openings. Openings on the big box has no glass, so the rain comes in, the wind comes in. So that is why we have trees inside of the big box. And the middle box has also the glass. It has a glass skylights, and so inside of the middle box is actually inside, but we have another small box inside. So then it's like a confusing situation. Inside of the big box is outside, actually outside. Outside of the middle box, it's outside, but still inside of the big box. And inside of the middle box is inside, but still outside of the small box, or something like that. So it's inside and outside is always a positively confusing in this house. That is the intentions, because I thought it's a bit pity to have just one wall to divide inside and outside. It could be better to have such an in-between spaces like this. So this is the outside, but it's like a half-protected rooms. And then you feel it's part of the room, but you can enjoy the wind or weathers or the good temperatures on outside. And this diagram shows how I understand this project. The left-hand black line is a normal wall to divide inside and outside clearly. And then the right hand, this gradation diagrams to show left hand getting more black, it's more getting inside. And then going right hand, more brighter, it's getting more outside. But inside and outside is not clearly divided, always like in the gradations. Then I feel you can have more choice between inside and outside, not only two choices, black and white, but it's more like gradations, because your life is more complex than this kind of a wall. So you can choose depending on the weather, or depending on your feelings or seasons, or depends on how many friends you have, then you can choose wherever you like within this kind of infinite gradations. So again, like the same as this many steps houses, I like to provide more choices for people. It's like a freedom and more communication and interactions between you and your body and the architectural spaces. And then the plan and section is quite simple. Box in box in box. Simplify the gradations. Maybe if you have more site, then we can have 4 boxes, 5 boxes, or something like that. And in this, even in the sections, it has the box in box in box systems. And finally, it's like this. So surroundings are more like a typical normal Japanese housing areas, and suddenly so strange things happen. But you can imagine the house in front of this White House. It has a house and the gardens are in front. So normally house as an object and the garden in front. But we put another box to cover house and the garden together to create like a garden and a house as one part of the your living environment. So that is just a one addition, but then changing the whole situations. Step in to the big box. So you are protected, surrounded by the box with the trees, open to the sky, so outside but inside feelings. This is a view from the deep inside, from the smallest box. So you see the small box with the big openings, and the middle box with the openings, and then the big box in the wall. So the openings are layering to each other. So finally you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 fragmented sky above you. So it means you feel it's quite open to the sky. But on the other hand, you are inside of the 3 layers of the walls. So you are really, really protected inside of the boxes and boxes. So protected feelings and open feelings are integrated together here. That's, again, quite like a fundamental proposals, because every time architecture is facing the questions how to close it and how to open it, but we can create both of them together, and you just move around to find more protected corners or more protected open spaces. Depends on your feelings or depends on your life. Again, yeah, this is again the photos of the Iwan. Beautiful, like a representation of the whole architecture. Sometimes one photo could show the architecture more than the real architecture in a sense. It's really surprising things, because you can see the whole essence. You can see, because if you like to explain architecture, I like to show the drawings, I like to show the diagrams, I like to show the plans and something and many photos. Then finally I can explain architecture. But sometimes one photo could integrate everything. Then people can perceive what it is. It is like the miracle of the photographs. Then this is a little bit larger scale library. This is again, we are doing the layering of the walls. And this is a library in Tokyo for Art University in Tokyo, Musashino Art University. And we proposed to create the library all made by the bookshelves. Everything is made by the bookshelves. Because, yeah, I was thinking kind of the extreme or kind of the extreme library or only one library. What is the only one library? Or definite definition of the library. And finally, it's a space for the books. And we thought it's not only the space, but you can walking around. Sometimes you just search books, but sometimes you're just walking around the library to get an inspirations or to encounter with unknown books. It's different from the internet, the Amazon or Google or something. Actual physical space, physical books, physical body, then your experience is like a really precious things, and encountering in a precious moment is possible. So I thought those kind of experience could be like the forest of the books, like walking around the forest, and then you can move around, and you encounter with something really special things. So we started from the bookshelves, spiral, growing to create the spaces for people, and finally the whole library is like a big continuous bookshelves. But important point is those kind of openings, like the house and the box and box and box house. Many layers of the bookshelves with many openings, and then finally you feel the space behind the bookshelves, or you feel the space behind the bookshelf, almost infinitely. And then those kind of layering spaces give you the inspirations or invitations for people. What is happening behind this? Or something, I saw something. What is that? Those kind of inspirations, invitations, it's happening everywhere. Then you start to walk. Then you start to see different perspectives, different layers. So almost like it's an endless process. New viewpoint, new standing point, and then new view, and new invitations, new inspirations happening. So those kind of endless process of the inspirations and your behaviors could create the experience of the walking in the forest. So that is why we try to make those kind of layering. And this is like the interpretation of the real forest into architectural structures without any actual trees, without any natural things. So this is the model of the 1 to 20 scale model. And we made the bookshelves, and you can see how the space is layering and spiral. And finally it's done. Even outside we have a bookshelves covered by the glass. And you will see one wall with a big openings and the space behind it. You feel there is a space behind it, but you don't see everything. Then what is happening behind this corner, what is happening behind this tiny corner could motivate you to start to walk around it. Going up the big staircase to reach to the main floors, and we put the skylights with those kind of polycarbonate plastic ceilings, which could create like a soft cloud-like ceilings floating above, and reflection is also happening. So the contrast of this timber bookshelves and the softness of the ceilings is creating like how to say, artificial forest-like feelings, I think. And then you will see how the space is vanishing, or how the layering is making the, how to say, some small visible part, but mostly hidden, mysterious spaces to invite you to explore around it. And of course, some of the students, or most of the students, just sleep in the forest. And but it's a nice photo because she is representing how comfortable this space is. And but actually, it relates to the scales. you can see between one walls and another walls, the gap is only 4.5 meter or 5 meters. So it's more like a residential scales. So it's more like a cozy protected scales. But if you're standing in the middle of this kind of openings, then suddenly your view is really open from the one edge of the buildings to the another edge of the buildings. You can see through it, almost like a 80-meter length of the view. But the important point is there are many, many layers, so you cannot see which bookshelf is actually the end. It's almost like a vanishing in the spaces, feels infinite feelings, and then many, many hidden spaces behind it inspire you to walk around it. And again, in the evening, it's lighting up. So from here, I will show 3 ongoing projects in Europe. Recently, we have an office in Paris, and several projects are ongoing in France. So 2 from France and 1 from Budapest, Hungary, Budapest. So this one is the housing tower in Montpellier, the city of Montpellier. It's a south of France. It's more like a Mediterranean, warm, comfortable climate. And they have a really good climate. So for the competitions, we talk with the local people, what is their lifestyle, what is their traditions, and they said climate is good, so living space should be mainly outside. We thought, wow, that's nice. Even in the winter time, they have a lunch on the outdoor terrace. And of course, less rains. Even in the summertime, it's not too hot, too cold, really, really comfortable space areas. Then we proposed to have huge balconies because the requirement says should be the 50-meter high. So it's like a high-rise for this village, not village, but for this city, it's one of the highest buildings. But even in such a high-rise buildings, we propose to have such a huge balconies for their climate and for their lifestyle. And finally, the biggest one is 8-meter depth and 6-meter wide, so it's like a huge living spaces. And then it's like this. It's more than 300 balconies and pergolas are sticking out from the buildings. And you will see it is every balconies we have limes on it, and it's alongside the river. It's like a pine cone or pineapples or something like that. But the basic idea is quite simple, to have such a big balcony, but we did it in a serious way, carefully locate these buildings on the site. It has a river, and then the green park already there. So we propose to have green continuity throughout our site to the northern part. That is why we push the buildings more close to this roundabout. And then we have existing buildings north of our site. We like to keep the nice view from the existing building. That is why we push like this and like this to make it more like a, I don't know how to say, a bit organic shape. And of course we thought about the depths of the apartment, not too deep, to get more proper sunlight. So those kind of practical things, together with such a crazy ideas to have just a simple balconies, are well integrated. And because of this shape, I think those kind of how to say, organic feelings are realized. Because in a sense, for the housing apartment, the apartment block and balcony is quite typical normal typology. So it's nothing new, but the shape is a bit like organic, and then the balcony is sticking out to all the directions with a huge size. Then it is getting something new and something different. So I like this project very much because it is relating to the really like a traditional or typical typology of the apartment, but at the same time it's quite new. So connecting to the normal things and the new things together, it's the quite interesting things. And finally, the competition jury session. Jury members is local people, city mayors, and then the urban development people. They love it because it is respecting the local climate and local lifestyle, and not only the respecting, but to presenting their traditions into the new expressions. So that is why they are so happy. And you can see some of the apartment has 2-3 balconies sticking out, and some of them, the apartment itself is 2 levels. So connecting by the staircase, even the balcony itself. So huge balconies, upper levels and different levels, and then sky staircase could connect to different balconies. So it is actually the 3-dimensional living space on outside. And then nice view to the Mediterranean Sea and the mountains, because this is one of the highest buildings. And now this is under construction, and will be finished in 1 year. Now the structure is finished. We are starting to put the balconies from November next month. And you can see, yeah, again, this is beautiful structures. But exciting things for me is after the completion, people start to do their life. And many furnitures, parasols, or something, laundry, or something, many different types of the life starts to come out on those kind of balconies. And finally, the architecture itself is more stepping behind, and this is more like a full of the life, like a tower of life, or yeah, it's life itself. And so architecture is, of course, itself should be beautiful, but more beautiful things is to provide the platforms for the diversity of the life, and such a life itself could create the special identities and the landmark for the local people. And this is in Budapest. The program is the House of Music. It's the combination of the music museum, music hall, and music educations. So the mixtures of those 3 programs could create like a new cultural buildings. And the site is in the middle of the huge park. It's like a central park of Budapest. It's a huge green park, and a lot of great trees are there. And the site is in the middle of that. So we proposed to have like architecture like a forest. Yeah, this mushroom like one is our proposals, but the original ideas or concept is this one, because we question what is the ultimate extreme situation of playing in the music on those kind of site situations. What kind of architecture could be the extreme ultimate music hall? And then finally we thought, no architecture, just playing in the music in the forest is already like a really beautiful music performance spaces, with the sunlight is coming through it, protected by the trees. So it's something like this space today. That was the starting point. But of course, we have to translate this into architecture. And then finally, rather simple translation happened. The tree crowns to be more like the thicker roof with many openings, so that the sunlight is coming through it, and the ground level is more like a transparent. So we made the transparent music hall, and then we put the huge exhibition space underground like this. So underground we have huge exhibition spaces. Ground level, it's transparent, so it's entrance spaces, events, music performance spaces, and the lecture spaces open to the forest. And then within the roof is very thick with many openings, but it's very thick. So we have education programs in the roof. So 3 different programs clearly are located, they're connected by the circulations. From above, it's pure circular shape with many perforated holes. Some of them, existing trees come out through the openings. Some of them bring the light to the entrance spaces, bring the light to the event spaces, performing spaces. And it's in the middle of the park, so we thought people could come from various different directions. So its circular shape is open to everywhere, like this roof. But we try to make the wavy shapes so that from these directions and the other directions, the experience could be different. Entering under the roof from a higher ceilings, or entering under the roof from the lower ceilings, and then going up gradually. So those kind of a difference of the experiences could be made, could be created by the wavy shapes. So from above, the shape is very simple, but the experience is quite various. And that ground level is quite transparent with many perforations. And now the ceiling is more like a fragment of the, small pieces. It's something like a tree leaves, or something like the golden reflection of the forest. And of course, sound observation materials for the acoustics are behind the gap of these fragmentations. And now this is the last process of the design phase. We are almost finishing the design, and hopefully we can start construction from the beginning of next year. So this is our last project in Paris. Yeah, in Paris, the city of Paris is, as you know, it's quite like a historical, traditional, beautiful city. And every time architects try to make something in Paris, it is needed to think about Paris, how to harmonize it, or how to respect it, but at the same time how to bring something new on here. And this project, the name of the project is 1000 Trees. And as this title, our proposal is to create the floating forest just above the Paris. The location is, yeah, it's in a sense it's quite nice because they have a big access from the Louvre Museum to the Concorde Plaza, Champs-Élysées, and then the Gate of the Triumph to La Défense. It's one of the longest, beautiful, important axes of Paris. And our site is almost on it, a little bit away, but almost on it. So we proposed floating forest just above the city of Paris, because the city of Paris has the height limitations, about 30 meters, 35 meters. So we thought we like to respect that, but we like to bring something new. And if we have the forest floating just above those height limitations, then people can see it. It can be recognized. It's part of the Paris, but it's kind of a quite new things for Paris. So this is a floating forest, but on bottom we also have the forest for the public use. So we try to create a forest on the bottom and then forest on the top. And then on the top forest we have also like a small villages for the housing. So it's again, it's like a contrast and a harmony between the existing city of Paris. City of Paris has all the housing is just an apartment. It's a big block, apartment block. So we try to bring such a small independent houses like a villages in the forest. But the height is almost the same with existing Paris. So we brought something new, or brought something opposite things to make a contrast. But if you can make the harmony with these opposite things, again, like the nature and architecture, then it could be like some fundamental and new proposals, I thought. So this is the concept. Left hand, we have the typical Paris apartment. Open the bottom to provide the forest for the people, and transform the rooftop into the floating forest with a village. And the Paris rooftop is quite like charming in a sense. It is various, and it is like a small villages made by such a tiny chimneys and then the rooftops. So I got an inspiration from this to transform it into the small villages. So in here we try to understand what is the city of Paris, what kind of a historical something, and try to respect the beautiful city, and carefully try to bring something new to make a beautiful contrast, to make a kind of a surprising harmony between new things and old things. From above, it's really green. And also it could be the green landmark in the city of Paris. This is the model. So this shape of the building is a bit strange like this, because we like to open the bottom as a forest to the public. That is why we don't do this, but we make the buildings like this. And on the top we have a housing, and this shape we have offices and hotels. And on the bottom, under the forest, we have retails, commercial, and kindergartens. And on the basement, we have a bus stations. So it's really like a mixture of the programs. But basically, it's like the forest for people and a forest in the sky. And this is the forest for the lower level. So it's like a more park like spaces. And then you will see the floating forest above it. And for this project now we submitted the permission documents, but it is quite a huge project, so it will take some more years. But yeah, it could be nice always to think about, because I'm from Tokyo, so to think about Paris is really new things, so it's full of inspirations. And then respect the Paris. I love the city of Paris because it's super beautiful, so I like to respect it. But I like to bring something new to, like, how to say, yeah, to make a highly amazing harmony between two of them. And it's possible because historically they have been introducing new things to make the harmony and contrast to the historical Paris. So it's possible, and it is needed, and it is requested from them. That is why finally we won the competitions. So again, yeah, those kind of the new situation inspire me a lot to make something new. So this is the end of the presentation, and yeah, I hope you to enjoy that. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Hello. Thank you so very much. I think it's so inspiration. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Ok, sau đây thì chúng ta sẽ giống như buổi sáng hôm nay, mình sẽ có một vài câu hỏi sẽ dành đến để trao đổi với cả kiến trúc sư Sou Fujimoto. Sau đó thì ban tổ chức sẽ có một chút thời gian để chúng ta cùng giao lưu riêng với cả kiến trúc sư. Thì bạn nào là người đầu tiên có câu hỏi thì có thể giơ tay để ban tổ chức chúng tôi sẽ chủ động là chuyển câu hỏi cũng như là dịch câu hỏi đến với cả dịch giả. Ok, mời anh ạ.
Thank you very much for the inspired lecture. I would like to ask about, could you tell us about your conversation between you and your clients in the designing process? Also, how to supervise the work in the construction period? Thank you.
Well, actually the conversation with the client is rather normal in a sense. It's just a daily conversation, how are you and something. And then it's like a casual conversations. Of course I make some questions, And sometimes, like in case of the house NA, clients talk about their lifestyle. And sometimes, for example, the last project is a big developer project. So we talk with the boss of the developers, and some of them clearly talk about their visions, but some of them not so clearly, but just a passions or something. So we carefully see what is the point and what is the story behind it, or what is the priorities or something like that. And it is not only the conversation with the client, but for example, the conversation with Paris, for example, or conversation with the history, or conversation with the history of city, history of architecture, and the conversation with the lifestyle of the people and the climate. And so I am more like, I think I'm good in listening to those kind of situations. Not so much like talking, but I like carefully to listen to such all different aspects of the projects. And then gradually you can find something through listening process. So yeah, recently I'm more and more, conscious about carefully listening, and then you will find something, extraordinary things. And on the construction side, depends on the situation, depends on the countries, depends on the situations. In smaller things, we can, for example, the toilet project, finally some of the final finish has been done by my staffs, like paintings or treatment. But for example, in France, the housing tower, it's big, so it's the whole system of the construction is already ongoing. So we try to carefully communicate with the client on which point we have to see some things, or on which point we have to see some details. So more like systematically we have to understand the whole process. But sometimes, they do as they like and it's wrong, and then we have to negotiate carefully and calmly, not get angry, but carefully, we can make the good solutions with that. So it's, those kind of communication is quite important part of the architectural design and the realization process, I think.
Thank you, Sou Fujimoto. Câu hỏi thứ hai là second question. Tôi muốn dành cho một bạn trẻ, bạn nào đang là sinh viên ở đây đúng không? Thì ok.
Em nói tiếng Việt nữa. Cháu là một trong những người làm mô hình ạ. Thì cháu muốn hỏi chú một cái là theo chú, quan điểm của chú về kiến trúc và cái sự hào hứng trong cuộc sống của con người là gì? Có một cái ví dụ là cháu và đội mô hình khi mà chuyển đến đây làm các cái công trình mô hình ấy, thì mọi người có làm việc ở trong ngay không gian triển lãm, và khi mà mệt thì mọi người trèo lên cái cây to đùng ấy, xếp ở ngay ở trong không gian triển lãm đó, và mọi người có khi mệt thì mọi người lên đó ngủ và có làm những cái công việc khác nhau, ví dụ như là có thể là ngồi chơi này, ngồi nói chuyện với nhau và làm rất nhiều việc, có thể là hát hoặc là ngồi xem phim hoặc là ngồi nói chuyện với nhau được. Thì cháu cũng giật mình vì có một cái concept về house art nó y như thế, là có people on the tree, người trên cây, và nó cháu có một cái cảm nghĩ là mọi người rất là hào hứng về việc là ngồi trên cái cây đó và hoạt động trên những cái cây, hoặc có những cái hoạt động ở trên đó. Cháu thấy là những cái công năng đó khi mà ở trên cây thì họ nó chỉ còn là sự tương đương thôi, nó không còn là những cái công năng rõ ràng nữa, và ai cũng có thể làm những cái công việc khác nhau ở trên đó. Thì chú nghĩ sao về cái sự hào hứng đó trong kiến trúc?
Right, it's a bit long, but I think I got it. So he's actually one of the students who made the models, and ever since we moved to the lantern and making models there, there's tree trunk there that we always use in our rest time, so we often climb on it to take a nap, to sit, to talk, to watch a movie, or just looking around on top of the exhibition. So he asked that one of yours concept about House NA, you talk about people on tree, is that right? Yeah. And he want to ask you about how important is architecture and the joy that it brings to the people. Is that what you're aiming for? Is that important to you? The joy that architecture brings to people, is that important to you, or is that what you're aiming for in your buildings, in your concept?
Yeah, yes. Yeah, actually I think I like to make the space where people can enjoy, because I believe our life is, yeah, we can enjoy our life. And if we can have, for example, in the pavilion, Serpentine Pavilion I show at the very beginning, people come and then they just sit there, got a coffee or tea, and they just sit there, sometimes really crowded and packed, but they are laughing, they are talking, and they are just staying there. They didn't see so much the architecture, but they just spent time there. And it was nice things to see that, because architecture is not the things you have to see or you have to, see as an art pieces, but it's like a place where people can be relaxed and unconsciously just behave in a different way from their normal life. So this, then as a result, it could be the special places. So if we can, it's not like, but it's not, of course, it's not like Disneyland. It's more relating to your basics of your life, the fun of your life. It's not attraction. It's more like your life itself is full of fun, full of peaceful, calmness, but still, it's you can enjoy your life, I think. Is that okay? Is that answer? You translate. Yeah.
Tôi vẫn muốn dành một câu hỏi nữa cho các bạn nào làm kiến trúc sư, các bạn có thể giơ tay. Bây giờ tôi sẽ ưu tiên anh Quang trước, sau đó sẽ ở dưới kia nhá. Ok. Vì Quang là bạn tôi.
Chào ông ạ. Tôi muốn hỏi là cái vệ sinh, cái public toilet của ông ấy, thì tại sao là cái phần to ấy thì là dành cho phụ nữ, mà là có một cái phòng nhỏ dành cho nam, thì tôi chưa hiểu là cái mục đích.
So he asked about the public toilet project. So I think he asked about why did you make the bigger space for the women toilet, and then there's just a small one for the guys. Why is that?
Well, it's more for the special, but actually it's a practical thing. It's really practical reason. In the regulations in Japan, we have more toilet for women than men. That is just a simple regulation. And we made one small box as a handicapped people, men and women. Everybody can use it. So that's a small one. Anyway, we need that for the handicapped people. So we say this is for everybody. Then it means one for men, one for women already, and one for handicap. And then if you like to make another one, it should be for women, because women's toilet should be more than the men's toilet. That's the only reason. And no, so it's nothing so interesting, I'm sorry, but it's just following to the regulations.
Ok, thank you. Có lẽ với câu hỏi này tôi sẽ đặt chung cho tất cả những các bạn trẻ ở đây. Duy sẽ dịch cho anh nhé. Đó là cái điều kiện để mà xin gọi là tuyển dụng vào cái văn phòng của Fujimoto ở Tokyo hoặc là ở Paris là như thế nào, và thường nó có khắt khe không?
So this question might be interest by many students and architects here. Is that is the requirement to be in one of your office in Tokyo or Paris very strict, or is it really demanding, and what do you have to get there or to be there?
You mean the reason to have an office in Tokyo and Paris?
No, I mean the requirements to be one of your employers.
A requirement to be one of the employee.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, the doors is open every time, every day. And if you are passionate, if you are honest, if you have good talent, then everybody can be welcomed. Yeah.
Fujimoto bảo là năm nào và lúc nào thì văn phòng ông cũng đều tìm kiếm những bạn trẻ có đam mê và nhiệt huyết, và chỉ cần là mình có rất nhiều nhiệt huyết và tìm được niềm vui trong công việc thì hãy cứ tham gia đăng ký ạ.
Okay. Thank you. Okay.
Hi. I just have one question. Is your projects are cinematic in terms of revealing of programs and then to reintroducing of programs. I'm very interested in the way of your mental process in terms of distributing of these programs, especially in projects such as Musashino Library and also the Mille Après project in Paris.
Yeah, program-wise, it depends. The library one, it was a big challenge because the program of the library is quite like a strictly defined. So we completely follow to their request, and we add extra things on it. Normally, they like to have just a regular layout of the bookshelves to make it easy to find books, and actually, even in that library, we have some kind of the regularity of the layout of the books, but in a different way. It's so it has the rules, but it is not the normal rules. It's not following to the normal way of the rules. So it is, yeah, the program-wise, it's quite like intellectual reinterpretation is always needed to re-understand what is more, how to say, what is better. The program given from the client is like normally it's like a normal package of the programs, and then we review it, we see it, and then sometimes we find some extra addition or reinventions or like upside down or something. Those kind of a treatment could make the programs works better. So the purpose of dealing the program is not just to make the crazy combination of programs, but just to try to make the whole, how to say, activities works much better, or adding more extra experiences or extra values on it. So sometimes we just follow to the normal programs because the programming is very nicely done. Then we don't need to criticize. We don't need to do anything. We just follow to that. But mostly the program is just roughly done by somebody. So every time we review it. And for the last project, the program is really complex. So it was more like not the reinvention of the programs, but the carefully lay out the programs. And yeah, it also relates to the business. So it's quite like complicated and the practical things. So on one hand, we think about such a conceptual things, dreamlike things, but on the other hand, really practical business-like things and the regulation-like things. And every time the architects have to integrate all of them, and of course history and traditions and then everything, integrate all of them together to make the one amazing proposals. So that is like exciting challenges, and yeah, that's quite intellectually exciting challenges.
Thank you. And the last question for the Sou Fujimoto. Okay, mình sẽ ưu tiên phụ nữ.
Mọi người có cần em dịch lại cái câu hỏi đấy không? Tại vì nó khá dài và hình như là không có cabin dịch như vậy.
Ok, anh nghĩ là cần giúp.
Vâng. Thì để anh nhắc lại câu hỏi của em thì có hình như là em hỏi là những cái project của ông thì thường là có những không gian nó rất là hoành tráng, nó rất thú vị. Nhưng mà mặc dù là cái công năng của công trình nó không có gì đặc biệt, ví dụ như là cái thư viện, thì ông có trả lời là và bạn ấy hỏi là làm cách nào để Fujimoto có thể sáng tác ra được những công trình như thế. Thì ông có trả lời là khi mà nhận được các cái brief về những công trình này thì thường là nó đã có các công năng được cần thiết kế rồi, thì mọi người trong công ty sẽ ngồi review lại, ngồi xem lại và làm cách nào đấy để nó có thể trở nên thú vị nhất mà không làm mất đi cái công năng chính của nó. Thì ví dụ như là cái thư viện thì công năng chính của nó vẫn chỉ là mọi người đi quanh thư viện để tìm sách, thì ông đã có những sự thêm vào đấy như là những không gian riêng, rồi là cái đường xoắn để mọi người đi vào. Và thứ hai, ông nhắc về cái project cuối cùng thì project đấy thì phức tạp hơn, tại vì nó có rất nhiều các công năng khác nhau, ví dụ như là thương mại hoặc là trường, rồi khách sạn. Thì những cái đấy thì lại cần sự bổ sung về những giá trị lịch sử và mỹ thuật để làm cho cái project nó tuyệt hơn. Và như vậy là được chưa? Cơ bản là như vậy.
Thanks for your presentation, and I clearly love your works, though I'm not working in architecture. I only have one question concerning the house NA in Tokyo, because it's a private home for a couple, and I was wondering about the intimacy and privacy. When you talk about erasing walls and eliminating boundaries. But I've been to Tokyo, and I think Japanese people demand for privacy is quite high. So how do you deal with it? And if you add curtains to those glasses, then what's the point of being transparent? What's the point of eliminating boundaries, erasing walls? And what do you think about translucency instead of transparency? Is just a gradient of transparency, or could it be something else?
Can I just chị hỏi về công trình HNA ở Tokyo, thì chị có muốn thắc mắc đến sự trong suốt và cái sự riêng tư của người dùng ở trong công trình. Và chị cũng muốn hỏi là nếu bây giờ mà cho thêm rèm để che bớt đi thì nó có thì tại sao mình lại lúc đầu lại thiết kế dành cho cái sự thông thoáng và sự xuyên thấu như thế? Và tại vì chị biết là ở Nhật thì cái sự yêu cầu về riêng tư của người ta là rất cần thiết, thì đó là câu hỏi của chị.
Well, yeah, actually the clients really likes to have that kind of openness. So yeah, we can say most of the Japanese people likes to have such a privacy, or most of the Japanese people just likes to have the normal house, because most of them likes to follow to the others. But our clients were like, they just like to have the house for them, and for them the privacy as like a normal house is not very interesting. So they like, from the very beginning, they like just to make it more like an open feelings house. And so finally the bathroom shower spaces are open. Only the toilet, yeah, we can be closed, but most of the areas is open. And actually we have curtains, and but even the curtains is like not only on the glass surfaces, but they put the curtains between one space and the another space, interiors, several curtains, to make a more like a layering feelings. So that is When I saw that, I was really happy because they understand the concept of the space. Sometimes dividing the space in smaller pieces, or more flexibly open up or close. So it's again, they have more choices to open up or to close it.
So the client actually add the curtains after you finish the building, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's part of the design process already.
Yeah. Right,
During the design process, we talked about it, and then clients added. And the photo shooting we took out.
Right.
It was a bit. I think it was not so good decisions to take out the curtains because the curtains was also nice, and they chose different. Everything white, translucent, but the different textures on each curtain. So it's very beautiful.
Ông trả lời là vì hai vị khách hàng này cũng là một đôi cặp một cặp vợ chồng trẻ rất là đặc biệt, và họ không muốn cái tòa nhà của họ giống như mong muốn của những người Nhật khác là chỉ muốn là một cái tòa nhà một cái căn nhà giống với cả cái căn nhà của người khác thôi. Thì trong lúc thiết kế thì tất cả các vấn đề này đều được đặt ra, và ông rất là mừng là vì cái đôi vợ chồng trẻ này nhanh chóng đã hiểu được cái ý thiết kế của ông ý, và họ hoàn toàn chấp nhận cái không gian sống như thế. Mặc dù là sau khi về thì họ có trăng thêm rèm ở những chỗ như là phòng tắm và phòng vệ sinh, nhưng mà tất cả cái điều đấy đã được tính toán từ trước rồi, để khi mà khách hàng họ có nhu cầu cho thêm những rèm như vậy thì cái công trình nó không bị mất đi cái tính chất của nó. Và ông ấy cũng nói là ông ấy rất mừng là khi mà ông tạo ra công trình này thì thấy khách hàng tự mình dùng những cái rèm để chia phân bổ những không gian riêng, thì ông thấy là công trình mình đã có được cái sự linh hoạt trong công năng, và tự cặp vợ chồng trẻ đã tạo ra được cái không gian sống mà phù hợp với mình nhất sau khi họ đến đây đó.
Ok, thank you Yuan Ban. Sou Fujimoto. Như tôi nói thì đã là cái câu hỏi the last question. Sau đây thì tôi biết là còn rất nhiều anh chị có nhu cầu hỏi kiến trúc sư Sou Fujimoto, thì các bạn có thể chúng ta sau cái phần kết thúc hôm nay thì sẽ ra trao đổi riêng với cả kiến trúc sư để có những câu hỏi thêm mà phục vụ cho cái nhu cầu tìm hiểu của các anh chị. Và hôm nay xin thay mặt ban tổ chức và thay mặt toàn thể các đội hỗ trợ cũng như là tất cả mọi người, chúng tôi xin gửi lời chào đến tất cả các anh chị và xin cảm ơn các anh chị rất nhiều. Đặc biệt cảm ơn kiến trúc sư Sou Fujimoto. Special thanks for you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
There's some people want to ask you something.